Thanks for tuning into the OTC Club. Today we have our special guest. You all know him as Trend Spider J or Jake. Jake, right? Okay.
Jake,
Or
that's me.
Jake. So, Jake, can you just
Yes,
give us a
yes.
little bit about yourself? Tell us about yourself. Maybe give us a little insight on Trend Spider J.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me again. So I've been kind of dabbling in the markets for quite some time. I kind of got in the markets when I was about 12 years old. Through my dad kind of just giving me a custodial account, and that's how I was able to trade, being under 18, and kind of do all that stuff in the markets. And I kind of, in high school, traded quite a bit during the financial crisis. So that's kind of when things really started to um, make a lot more sense to me. The first couple of years were definitely more or less learning a lot, and I still learn every day. So that's the beautiful thing about trading. If you're not learning about the market, you're learning about yourself at some degree. And yeah, just overall, really got into kind of the economic side of the markets once I went into college. And so I studied economics in college and was able to really understand why prices move. And I think that's one of the things a lot of people don't fully understand in the market is, why are prices moving? It's not always because buyers, it's not always because sellers. Prices can move based on other things rather than just, it goes up because there's more buyers. The market can go up because there's less sellers, and the market can go down because there's less buyers. It's not always that straightforward. And so economics really helped me understand that, just really basic supply and demand curve type of things. And then from there, worked for a couple startups out of college, and really realized that my passion was in the markets. And so uh, kind of started sharing my ideas on social media and got some good feedback. So kept sharing ideas, and one day started kind of teaching and sharing ideas through a subscription service. And one of my one of my subscribers reached out and said, "Hey, I know this guy. He's trying to start this charting company and is looking for somebody to help start it." And that's really how TrendSpider started. Just Dan, who's our CEO, and I met, and just kind of decided that we could really make something special if we work together. And he's a very seasoned entrepreneur. I've got a lot of experience in the markets, and so kind of being able to work off each other's strengths is really uh, how the platform was created. And on top of that, our dev team is just ridiculously talented, and they were able to make this whole thing a reality.
That's amazing, Jake. And it's so funny because I was like, hey, that was going to be my next question to you is, how Trend Spider came about and, how you started trading, but you kind of rolled into that. So I don't have to ask you because I now know. So can you tell us what services Trend Spider provides and how it differentiates from other providers?
Yeah, so it started as a charting platform, but it's at this point it's really anything that you want to analyze in the market. It's really not just a technical platform anymore. So if you want to look at seasonality, if you want to look at how Bitcoin performs going into December over the last 5 years, or how small caps perform into the end of the year. November and December are historically the strongest months of the year, and that's just something you can easily see on TrendSpider visually with our seasonality tool. So it's not just technical anymore. It's really different layers. So it's a back tester. Let's say that you have a strategy that you want to try out, or you have a friend who said, "Hey, I've got this crazy strategy. It's got 100% win rate and returns 100% over 2 months." You're like, "Okay, well, let's see if this person's full of it." You can go just test the strategy, whether it's your own or somebody else's, and it really allows you to stay honest with yourself and realize, hey, is my strategy even beating buy and hold? Am I better off just buying something and forgetting about it for 10 years? So another layer is the alerts. So you can create alerts on trend lines, moving averages, Bollinger Bands. You can create alerts on if you wanted to get an alert if the weekly candle closed as a hammer, or any other type of candlestick pattern, you can do that. And there's really kind of an educational side as well. We have auto trend lines, and this is one for people who do a lot of charts and they want to see things quickly, through the automated analysis, and they can kind of make their discretionary analysis a little automated, but still keep it discretionary. But it's also for those that are newer and maybe want to train their eye on what are these trend lines kind of showing, and over time you can learn, maybe what your style is through that. But we also have pattern recognition. So maybe you're newer to trading, you haven't trained your eye to understand what a hammer is or a bullish engulfing candle is or anything like that. You're able to visualize that on the platform as well. So it's really a bunch of different layers, technical and non-technical, to help you get an edge in the market.
So, Jake, what's your favorite alert?
What's my favorite alert?
Yeah, what's your favorite
Well, it
alert?
depends. Yeah, if it's I generally am looking for longer term setups. So most of my alerts probably wouldn't be too significant like intraday, but I would still get them intraday. But generally, what I'm looking for are simple trend reversals, MACD crosses, anything that has a lower indicator setup. A lower indicator is essentially just an oscillator. RSI, Williams percent range, MACD, and so kind of finding anything with a reversal in the trend with a candlestick confirmation is generally kind of what I'm looking for on that side of things.
Yeah, we need to talk about that because that sounds like my type of party right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
hmm So another question for you: what markets do you personally trade? Like, what's your favorite market to trade? Do you trade any crypto OTCs? Do you trade any of that also?
No, no, I just stay with the markets. I do
hmm
love to post crypto, because a lot of people trade it and they're interested in it. And honestly, I prefer not to trade crypto, because it really keeps my analysis very honest, right? Like I have no position. I don't care if it goes up. I don't care if it goes down. Generally, crypto is a pretty risk-on sentiment in the market. So generally, if crypto is doing well, the markets will follow. But overall, it really allows me to keep things completely straightforward. Sometimes you'll see somebody in crypto whose charts look like everything's going to go to the moon. Who knows? Maybe it will, but I do like to stay in the just regular markets, large cap names, and it really kind of boils down to a select few stocks. I don't really go out of my kind of comfort zone when trading stocks. I have like a list of probably well, I have a huge list, and what I do is every day I just scroll through my phone and I look and see, okay, well, how is this particular stock doing? And if I see some type of trend, I'll kind of put it up higher on the list to keep an eye on. But generally, I don't really trade anything that I haven't been watching for weeks or months, because it's kind of like if you went to go play poker at a casino, right? You're not going to go just sit down at a poker table and start just playing with a big hand immediately, because you don't know how people are bluffing. You don't know, the ticks that people are making when they're bluffing, or when they've got a good hand, that type of thing. So you kind of have to learn the personality of those players at the table, just like you have to learn the personality of the stocks that you're trading, before you get too deep into a position.
So
Uh,
one more before Christine goes. Do you
yeah.
do you have a favorite stock to trade that you like to trade in and out of?
Um, it really depends. Like for options, I do like trading Disney. I do like trading Fubo, but I really just trade Fubo on common stock side of things, because the implied volatility is really high. So sometimes, you can get an IV crush and be right and still get hit on the options. So it really just depends on the liquidity of the options chain. So if something's liquid enough and it's a large enough market cap, I'll generally trade the options. And when I'm trading options, it's generally months out. I'm not somebody trading something that expires on Friday. There's just not enough room for margin of error there. So I'm generally just trading larger cap names, and if I do trade like a smaller cap name, it's going to be anywhere from about $1 to $10 billion, and generally it's common stock rather than options.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I would like to say though that I do sit down at poker tables and not know anyone's personality and try to go hard at the table. So I
yeah.
just wanted to say that.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
And
Christine, hold
so
on. Was this in Decentraland? Is that what you're talking about?
there too.
So that
Yeah,
doesn't count.
I'm not playing poker with you in Decentraland. Yes, it does, Matt. So you could actually lose money. So
Really?
Yeah, yeah, you can. Uh-huh. Doll is just right next to me dancing while I'm going hard at the table. So, okay, so what would you say your biggest successes, or what do you say your biggest success was, and your biggest mistake in your trading journey thus far, and what did you learn?
Biggest success, honestly, probably when I was in high school. Honestly, I really was a pretty impulsive trader back then, and it worked out. During the financial crisis, I was trading a lot of um, banks that got absolutely just destroyed, and that was when I was making a quite a bit of money, and that was just due to the volatility. Now, I still trade and all of that, but my main job, if you want to call it that, is trend spider. So trading is more of a hobby and something I do to make some extra income, and I'll trade for some different family accounts. But definitely back in high school during the financial crisis was some of my biggest successes trading. And it was definitely some luck, but also just knew when to press it at the right time, and kind of using sentiment. Back then the sentiment was on like Yahoo message boards. I didn't really get on Twitter to look at what the market was doing. It was like going on Yahoo and saying, okay, well, I've seen this stock talked about like 10 times in 10 different message boards. It's probably on a lot of people's radars. And being that young, you don't really, think about money the same way as you do when you work for it. So my mom had actually kind of given me full autonomy to trading her account, and that's when we made some pretty good money back then. My biggest failure by far was trying to short the market in 2015 when Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen said she's going to raise rates 4 times in 2016, and I just got absolutely wrecked trading some leveraged ETNs like TVIX and those types of things. And that goes back to you, the Fed can say a lot of things until they actually do it. That's when you kind of pay attention. But um, the Fed, definitely, you never want to bet against the Fed, especially with some of those leveraged ETNs that just absolutely are pretty much designed to go to zero. They're essentially an options contract that just keep resetting every time they do a reverse split. So definitely some of my biggest successes. Who knows? We'll see. I've got a pretty large position in GE right now, so maybe, who knows? Maybe that will be my biggest one in a while into Monday. But biggest success was just really being able to press it pretty hard in high school during the financial crisis. But then failure for sure, trying to short the market when the Fed said they were going to raise rates.
ignorance is bliss, right? So the less you know, the more money you make. That's what I
Yeah.
feel like.
No, it's really true. I mean, I was like, okay, well, I'll just ape into this small penny stock. And back then, a lot of larger names were pretty much penny stocks. I mean, AIG was like a 30-cent stock back then, and that's kind of what I was trading, like AIG, Genworth Financial, XL Capital, and then a lot of different biotech names. I just, like you said, I wasn't too seasoned in the market, so I was just like, oh, this is awesome. I'll just keep being reckless, and the recklessness worked out for a while.
Yeah, I feel like the less we know in the market, the more likely we are to like YOLO our whole account into something, and we're either blowing it up or we're making a shit ton of money. So I can relate to that.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of my friends who don't know squat about the markets have made a ton of money over the last year and a half. So um, it's really interesting how that works.
Yeah. So, being a chief market analyst, do you have tips for us traders out here for the market we're in, the current market?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of what I said before. My biggest advice would be just to you know follow the Fed. The Fed is what at the end of the day makes the market. I know everyone keeps talking about Elon Musk this weekend, and oh, Elon's selling, so the market's going to go down. Elon Musk. He doesn't make the market. Maybe he'll have a short term little blip in the radar, but the Fed is who really drives the markets based on their monetary policies. So really just following what they say and really following price action. I've lost the most money in my trading career because I was biased and because I was ignoring a lot of things that were right in front of me, but I chose to ignore them because ego got in the way. And so being able to put your ego aside and really just look at the data has been a way for me to kind of keep my head level during some moves to the downside, moves to the upside, and really just looking at price action. So follow price action, really understanding supply and demand curves. I've made a couple videos on them. I know everybody hated economics in college and high school, but it's honestly one of the main things someone who's trading the markets should at least have an understanding of. What you know if the demand curve shifts up or down, or the supply curve shifts up or down, how does that move the markets? And there's a lot of volume tools on the platform that can uh, can be used the best way by understanding how these things work. So Raindrop Charts, it's something proprietary on the platform. It's essentially a volume weighted candle, so it allows you to see the volume profile within a day's range or a week's range or even up to a monthly charts range. And so it allows you to kind of see where that volume is aggregating without having to go into smaller time frames. So uh, that is something that completely changed the way that I look at the market. So I would definitely recommend at least watching a couple videos on them on YouTube, just Raindrop Charts, Trend Spider. They definitely allow you to see the markets in a completely different way.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Raindrop charts.
Yeah, kind of a weird name, but they are by far one of the more powerful tools that I've ever used in the market. And I'm not just saying that because I'm that trend spider. It's completely changed the way I can kind of look and see, is there conviction by buyers, is there not? Those types of things are really important when looking at the markets.
Jake, so we see on your profile, right, that you provide weekend homework for everybody. So it's like YouTube content of how, you explain how to use seasonality with charts, etc. And it's super cool to see you do that. When did you start doing weekend homework videos for everybody?
So I've been doing like weekend updates for a while, and I get a lot of questions, and a lot of the time the questions are the same. So I really try to focus on touching on a lot of these topics when I do look at the markets. And so being able to provide, not only chart ideas and chart updates, but putting education into that and kind of looking at this in a real world situation. A lot of people talk about theory a lot, right? Like, oh yeah, in theory, this is the way this works or that works. What I'd rather do is just kind of show it in a current example or a case study. And so I've been doing the weekend updates a while, but kind of throwing in the education side and answering a lot of those questions I get on a daily basis kind of helps me point people to, hey, check out this video. That's where you can find the answer. So it kind of just makes the whole process of sharing the knowledge a lot more efficient when I can just point somebody to a video rather than having to respond every single time with something. So it it kind of keeps me fresh, fresh and always kind of talking about what I'm looking at in the market. So the more you talk about something and the more that you just think about it, the more that you're going to get experience with it. So it really helps me too, teaching it. Almost understand the markets even more and more by just kind of talking it out. So it's helpful for me as well, and really gets me ready for the week ahead, and hopefully it does for others as well.
I thought it was really cool seeing that. I posted it up on top of the chat, guys. If you want to see what we were talking about on who's ready for weekend homework.
Yeah, and that image is a raindrop with a candle, and so that is a really interesting example. So that's kind of the way I like to use those raindrops. And if anyone clicks on that post, anytime that you've got a wick in the on a candle, you really want to see, was that wick created by low liquidity in the market, where somebody just market ordered, or a very short amount of time went by and someone just was able to move the market on low volume. Whereas if you have a wick and there's a lot of volume in that candle, then it really can tell you a lot about the conviction by buyers, and where they're really aggregating supply, and all of that. So that's kind of an example of what I was talking about with the raindrops. So definitely something I touched on quite a bit in this weekend's video.
Whoa, I love that. I'm just looking at it now. That's wonderful. Yeah. I think I'll watch that video later.
Yeah, check it out. It's interesting. My favorite way to look at raindrops.
Hmm.
I still don't even know how I came up with this analogy, but it's like the market is essentially like a sponge. And if you have a dry sponge, right, and you pour water on a dry sponge, the sponge is going to absorb that water. And if you look at a raindrop chart and you see volume at the top of the range, like in this example that I posted, that Christine posted up there with the raindrop versus the candle. If you pour water on a dry sponge, and that sponge absorbs it and gets bigger and bigger, that's a raindrop, kind of the same way supply and demand works. If you pour a bunch of supply, i.e. the water, on the market, and there's no demand to absorb that supply, then the price has to drop in order to find buyers. But if you have supply dumped on the market and there's somebody to absorb those shares, then you're going to see a market profile form. So it's kind of like, the water is your supply, the dry sponge is your demand. If you've got demand, you've got a dry sponge. If you've got a wet sponge and you pour water on the wet sponge, the water's just going to drip out of the bottom, and gravity takes over. So the raindrop can show you how the market and how buyers are absorbing supply. Because one thing a lot of people think of is, okay, well, that was buying volume or that was selling volume. But there's in my opinion, there's really no such thing. You have to have a buyer and a seller for every transaction in the market. It's how much conviction do those buyers have when they're transacting with a seller.
Very cool.
So it's kind of a
Hmm.
different way to look at the markets, and just really can open up the door to seeing how that plays out in pretty much in any market. Crypto especially. I mean, crypto is probably one of the most reactive markets I've ever seen to supply and demand, and raindrops especially. So it's something that works on all different types of markets.
Okay, we'll see about that later when I go ahead and view all your raindrop videos.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I trade crypto, I trade all that. So I want to see how
Cool.
it works. I'm interested. So another question we had for you was, how do you prep for the market in the mornings? We heard about your after hour homework or weekend homework. So now I want to know what you do before markets. Do you listen to any music? Because I feel like music sets the mood for everything. Christine, stop laughing at me.
Um, to be completely honest, I really don't. So most of my prep comes the night before. When I wake up in the mornings, I generally just kind of look at my phone, see what the markets are doing, and from my experience, generally the first 15 minutes you're going to have a lot of noise. You've got a lot of trades trying to kind of settle it. You got to let the dust settle. So for me, the first 15 minutes to 30 minutes a lot of the time is just kind of observing. And to kind of get prepped for that, I do like to look at the spreads overnight. So, for example, I like to pretty much just look at the bid and the ask on stocks that I'm trading or that I'm watching. A lot of the time, you'll see some interesting stuff overnight. So I have a 4.5 month old son, so I am up in the middle of the night more often than I used to be. So what I do is I'll just look at this overnight spreads, because the way that I look at it is, when anybody goes to put in an order, right? It's good till canceled or good till the end of the day. So if you've got orders in overnight, then those are good till canceled orders, because there's no orders open that aren't good till canceled that are on the book. So it actually allows you to see, where are those more convicted buyers and sellers. So I like to look for large spreads. So, for example, let's say a stock is trading or closes tomorrow at $70, and I look at the spread tomorrow night, and I see that the highest bid is 69 and the lowest ask is 77. Then I know that there's not a lot of good till canceled supply above. You don't have a lot of really, a lot of sellers until about 77, because that's kind of your good till canceled supply. I call it good till canceled supply because that's essentially what it is. It's just an order that's on the book until it's canceled, rather than during the day. So I like to look for those spreads, and if you do see something like that, you can see the price move pretty quickly, and it's almost kind of like a void in the supply and demand. So that's something that I really like to do is look at those spreads, and then once pre-market trading opens up, the spread changes. So you really want to look at it when the market is completely closed and there's nothing going on, and you can actually find some pretty interesting stuff just looking at the spreads.
So I actually have a question for you that I was going to ask, like, if you know what your advice to new traders would be, but I kind of want to change it around. And because, you said you were trading OTC back when you first started, and then obviously now you're kind of more on big boards and stuff, right? I want to know, because a lot of us OTC traders are starting to slowly diversify and do small caps or large caps, big boards. Do you have advice to any OTC traders that are curious about transitioning some of their portfolio in?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend, just kind of looking at price action without diving in. Like, a lot of the time I will watch a stock for weeks or months before I enter. So, GE is a great example. I've been literally watching GE now for probably 2 or 3 months or longer, just kind of waiting for the right time. And finally, the earnings came out and the market reacted well, so I finally got in. So if you want to transition into another market, I always recommend just watching that and seeing how it moves. You want to understand the personality of the stock. If you're going from OTC to, if you're going to OTC to larger cap names, you're going to see some different personality traits, right? So, like an OTC stock, there's not a lot of liquidity sometimes. So, if you got a chat room that all jumps into a OTC stock, that stock can move pretty quickly just because of the spread. Whereas, like, if you're trading larger cap names, you're really seeing market moves based on a a much stronger force in the market, which is just real supply and demand. So what's interesting though is if you're trading options on some of these large cap names, they kind of trade like OTCs. I mean, you've got big
For real.
spreads. I
Facts.
mean, yeah. I mean, if you wanna kind of still feel the OTC kind of euphoria when you get big moves, just go trade large cap options. That's, I like to say, like, trading large cap options is essentially being able to trade a large cap name as a penny stock. So you definitely have to look at the chains, because sometimes it's so illiquid that the spread may be 20% or something on some of these. So I would just recommend anything that anyone does get in, kind of watch it first and learn the personality a little bit before just jumping right in.
Great advice.
Great advice for real. with these options too. You guys can get just bagged just as fast in options, just like you all get bagged in the OTC. So, my advice, but not financial advice, is if you think you're gonna have it easier because you're trading big boards and you pick options, you will have guessed wrong. I guarantee you're gonna end up with a 99% down bag. Do your
Well, yeah, that's the
homework.
thing too. I mean, at least with OTCs, you can hold on and maybe it will come back. With options,
You're
that
done.
expiration date is that's a pretty hard stop. So, yeah, no, it's and that's the thing too. You generally with options, I because with common stock, I always market order. I there's enough liquidity in the stocks that I'm trading common on where I have no problem market ordering. If you want to go market order in an options market, you're pretty much just providing liquidity to somebody who who's got a limit on the ask. So for me, what I'll do, because options can move very quickly, and especially if you've got an impulse move, meaning you've got a really strong spike, the options premiums are going to spike with the implied volatility. So what I like to do is I just kind of like to put these I like to put orders in and let people take me out with the liquidity. If you've got a really strong move and you just place you place in, let's say the stock's at $100, the option is at $3, and the stock quickly goes from 100 to 102 very very quick. That options chain, if it's not incredibly liquid, you can throw an order, like let's say the ask at $4, and somebody may take you out with a market order because they don't know what they're doing. So you really want to take advantage of people providing liquidity through market orders and options markets, but you don't want to be the one providing the liquidity unless you've got a limit order. So that's definitely the way I kind of go about it. I definitely do not market order in the options market, but common stock I definitely will.
Super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you guys, do you have any questions up here, Rue? He mentioned the raindrops, and also trading crypto. What you think about that?
Um, well, for technical analysis in crypto is a whole different ball game. And I know Jake, you said you don't really trade crypto too much. Like as far as giving advice on it, do technical analysis. But as time goes on, are you looking to expanding into it as crypto gains more history behind it, and the chart is a little bit more reliable?
To be honest, probably not. One thing that I've traded crypto in the past, and one thing that really, um, messed with me was the weekend market being open. I'm somebody who, like, if a market is open, and I'm involved in it, I'm kind of like, I can't get my mind off of it. So, like, I would find myself just not sleeping as great as I did. People say, oh, well, crypto doesn't gap. Well, if you go to bed at 9 o'clock and you wake up at 7 and it's down 20%, it might as well be a gap. So for me, I like to kind of have a hard start and a hard stop when trading and being involved in the market. And a big thing to me is really balance. There's a lot of ways to make money in the world, and there's a lot of ways to make money in crypto and stocks. So for me, I personally would kind of rather be that person that goes to a casino and plays one or two games and just be familiar with that than try to go play every game in the casino. I know that I'm like kind of referring to the market as a casino. Kind of is. There's essentially probabilities that everybody plays in markets and casinos. So I'd rather continue to just share completely neutral analysis on crypto, and be able to share my perspective rather than being involved. I also don't necessarily like I don't like the current state of like the fees. Like if I wanted to buy a decent block of crypto, some of the fees are just like you're living in 1995, paying hundreds of dollars for a transaction. It's like, this isn't incredibly efficient. So I personally would rather just focus on a few things that I'm better at, and have that kind of work life balance. I don't want to be spending time with my son and have to worry about the crypto market's tanking 20%. I got to get out of a trade in the middle of the night. I'd rather kind of look at it, analyze it, share my thoughts, but kind of look at it from a little bit of a distance rather than be too involved. And it's like I was saying, there's a lot of ways to make money in the world. Folk trying to make money every single way, you kind of spread yourself thin, and then you're not really focusing all your energy on what you're good at. So for me, I've been involved in stocks, pretty much since I got out of middle school. So for me, I'd rather just focus on that, but still be able to look at the charts and analyze the crypto markets too.
Nice. And speaking of a lot of ways to make money in the world, I always have to ask our guests this, who aren't too much into the crypto market. Have you started trading any NFTs, or do you plan on
NFTs.
getting into NFTs in the future?
Nope, probably not. If I got into NFTs, it would, I completely get like why crypto is a really important thing. I don't have anything against crypto or NFTs. I definitely understand the value proposition for NFTs and why they make sense. But for me personally, it would just be spreading myself thin. I spend enough time in the stock market and looking at the markets, where that's about as much time as I'm willing to spend on it. NFTs and crypto are something that I kind of live vicariously through my friends. A couple of my friends have made some very, very good money trading crypto and NFTs, and really happy for them. And I kind of just get to live vicariously through them. If I, maybe down the road one day, if I had some type of subscription or like a service or something, I may explore that kind of side of NFTs. But for now, I'm just kind of looking at a distance, and happy for everybody who's making good money in those markets.
Rue, he can't go full degen. He has a cute little baby. he needs some time with the baby. Okay, Rue. But yeah, so pretty soon NFTs we won't have a choice anyway. I mean, your house will be on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I mean, I see a huge market for all crypto and NFT type things, and whether I like it or not, I'll be involved, and probably already am without even knowing it, with kind of how technology is playing out. And for crypto especially, I see crypto, one of the main use cases for crypto, and this is really the only way I've seen crypto used in a uh, in a way that actually kind of can be utilized. I went to a dispensary like 2 years ago, and I used my debit card, and I was like, "Yeah, how are you guys actually like getting the cash from the debit card?" They're like, "Oh, we're converting it to Litecoin and then converting it back to USD." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, that's how this whole thing works. You're essentially just using it as a vehicle to speed up transactions." And so that's kind of where I think it's going. You go and make a transfer at the bank, it takes 2 or 3 days. Uh, crypto can eliminate that. But the thing that I have a problem with is if you go put money into Coinbase, or and if you put in a couple $100, uh, they'll fund you right away. But if you want to put 10, 20K, I put 10 or 20K back in last August, to buy Litecoin. And it took like 2 weeks to get that money. So I'm sitting here like, what the hell? Like, where is this money? It's floating around somewhere. Of course, it's debited from my account within a day, yet it's not in my crypto account. So that's kind of this weird issue I have with it, is just kind of like, crypto is supposed to make things more efficient, yet there's a lot of things in the crypto market that aren't really optimized yet. And so I would definitely be waiting for some of those things to be a little optimized first, before I kind of really got on the crypto board for making kind of uh, the new kind of way of finance. But I definitely see the ways that it will change. how money and transactions are performed in the future.
We'll talk, Jake. There's ways around that. We got you. We got you.
Love
Right,
it.
Rue?
Got the insiders.
Yeah. We have some geniuses up here. But I think West Coast Closer, you had a question.
Yeah. So Jake, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. I see a lot of your TrendSpider going on out there. I'm not big boards, but I do want to ask because I am diving into that market. Come Q1 2022 is my target. How does people on this channel enter TrendSpider? Like, do you have links? Can we post it up there? Because
Yeah.
your knowledge is
So
definitely there.
Transpider.com is the main website, and there's different pricing plans to check out, but we have a free trial, so you can try things out before you actually have to pay for anything. But it's something that is still, being built every day, and our main goal is to really have the ability to connect whatever broker you're using to TrendSpider, so you can actually make trade. So let's say that you do have an alert on, let's say, an upper Bollinger Band, and you want to make a trade when the price breaks through that. Right now you get the alert, you get it on your phone, and then you make the trade on your broker. Whereas, our vision is to essentially have these alerts where you can have a predefined order already set up. So let's say price breaks through the upper Bollinger Band. You would get a text message. Hey, your alert's gone off. Do you want to go through with buying these 200 shares of Apple at X price? So it is a web-based platform. Everything is accessible as long as you've got the internet. It's not something you have to download to a single computer, and it's really all just on Trendspider.com. And then we have a ton of resources on YouTube. Just at Trendspider is our YouTube handle, and then on Twitter we post a ton of things as well to to really to share the knowledge. One thing that I've always had trouble with in previous platforms that I've used is really the customer service. I used to be an affiliate for another platform, and it was almost impossible to get a response, let alone an actual person responding. That it wasn't just like some canned response that they sent out. So one thing that we really try to differentiate ourselves in the market is by having that customer service. We have a customer success team for people that sign up. If you want a one-on-one trial, or excuse me, one-on-one demo during your trial, you just sign up and you get somebody to walk you through the platform. So it's really a platform that can be a little complicated, but we do have the resources on the internet. We even have a TrendSpider University that will show you different ways that you can use the platform, and each video kind of goes over those different layers. So YouTube, Twitter, and just Trendspire.com are the ways that you guys can really dive deeper into the product.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jake, and I think the listeners will really appreciate that. Cheers, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Jake, speaking of the TrendSpider, do you have a gift for the OTC Club audience today?
Ooh, Sunday gift. Yep. So OTC 25 you can use when you're signing up. If you want to create a free trial, try it out. You can put in the OTC 25. That's good for 25% off a single month or a single year subscription. And and you can do the free trial first. You don't have to pay anything up front. We want you to make sure that it's something that works for you and really adds value to your process before you decide to actually purchase it. So you can, when you're signing up, you can just put that OTC 25 in the coupon code little box during the check-in process.
Heck yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jake. OTC 25, guys.
OTC 25, we can pin that to the top. Go ahead. All right, you guys. So we're taking questions from the audience now. We have Women Rise NFT. We have, Tula Berry, hey, friend. And we have Squid Game and
Squid Game.
Rounder 78. Hey, let's start with Women Rise NFT. And remember, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand.
Hi everyone. So
Hey.
thank you so much for allowing me to speak. So my question is, I see that you guys are talking about stocks. So my question is like, do you guys think if stocks are better to invest in, or like should someone just invest in NFTs and crypto, given the current market, especially for somebody who has, limited money and can, like, invest only, or can start with, let's say, $100 or $500 or $1,000, like a limited amount of money. So yeah, I really want to know, how do you guys compare the two, or which ones do you think is like a better one to, for given the current market?
That is an amazing question. I just need to say that.
I would, I'd say it's up to your, whenever anyone's looking to participate in the market, it's got to be, what's your risk tolerance? What's your time frame? Are you looking to hold something for a year? Is it going to be 20 years? Those types of things really kind of will set the stage for what makes sense to you. So, as we said in the beginning, definitely not giving out financial advice or anything like that, but it's really up to you, to how you look at risk, and how much, do you want to worry about, hearing about the crypto markets are down 20% in, 6 hours? Those types of things. And if you're holding long term, those types of things really shouldn't matter, because if you're holding it for 10 years, most people want to welcome pullbacks to add. So it it really depends, and it depends on how much you know about, a stock or crypto. If you have a lot of base knowledge for crypto or NFTs, then it probably makes more sense to put money in what you're knowledgeable about, so you can make more educated choices. If you're more involved in stocks and kind of the overall economy and businesses, it may make more sense to look at buying stocks, because you can really use your knowledge about business and those different metrics to make an educated choice. So I think really it's about what you know, what you're educated in, as well as your time frame, and how long you plan on holding.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for answering the question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Woman Rise. And also, you can come back to us on Thursday so we can talk more about your NFTs.
Thank you so much. All right,
You're
I'm gonna
welcome.
I'm gonna go back to being a listener. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you. All right. We have Tula Berry. What's up, friend?
Hey, people.
Hey,
So, yeah,
what's up with you? You got some questions for Jake?
yeah, yeah. It's just a quick question though. How much does the float of an OTC company matter so much in terms of price movement and a consideration of taking position? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the float's always a huge part of, how prices can move. So definitely a lower float, you're going to have bigger moves. And with OTC, generally you've got, some pretty low floats. The problem is, though, you also have huge spreads. So yeah, it's kind of like trading options, right? You definitely want to keep in mind that, rather than being that person that's, helping with helping the price move because you're buying it. Sometimes it's really better to be on the side of just kind of putting an order out there, and letting the market take it out. So the float is definitely important for larger cap names. It's not something I look at. One thing that I would always recommend, especially with like OTC stocks, even small cap stocks, is always look and see if there's a history of dilution. Dilution is always going to mess up the float. Dilution is always going to mess up the charts, because you've changed the dynamic of supply and demand within the market at that point, when you're selling more shares on the open market. So the float is definitely important. It's not something that I look at a lot, just because the names I'm in are generally a lot more liquid, large cap names. But if you are trading, OTC stocks, and you're looking at the float, always also look at, do they have a history of dilution? What's the last time they raised capital? Was it near the current price? Was it not? Those types of things are what I look at, or I used to look at, especially when I was trading them more.
Yeah, thank you for the response. One more question. So, for OTC stocks, Generally, how do they raise funds? Because sometimes I review maybe the past 6 quarters, and I see that the value of the accounts payable or the short-term liability is actually going low or sometimes the same. And I wonder, from my own accounting background, I believe that accounts payable should be debts are payable in the next 12 months, right? And I don't understand how these debts how they repeat themselves over the years, and they are supposed to be current liabilities, right? And I don't see any form of dilution. So, is there some other way they raise funds rather than maybe sourcing funds from the bank or diluting shares? Is there some other way they raise funds?
Yeah, I mean, most companies will raise money through public offerings, so they're literally just selling more shares on the open market. There's a couple different ways that they'll do it. Some companies will just, announce, "Hey, we're selling 10 million shares on the open market, and we're closing the offering in X amount of days, or as until they can sell that many shares." Other times, which is kind of a little not definitely not my favorite way of raising money, is at the market. So essentially, they'll have an offering open, meaning they're able to sell more shares on the open market, but they don't have an announcement that says, "Yeah, okay, we just closed our offering at 10 million shares at $5 a share." The at the market offering is kind of like, essentially, they can take advantage of liquidity in the market and sell those shares when it makes the most sense. So at the market offerings are definitely interesting. Fubo actually had one a couple months ago, and that's why the price action had some trouble there, because they were kind of raising some money through the at the market offering. But sometimes offerings are good if that money's being used to grow grow the business. But a lot of these biotech names and all of that, you'll see them come out with press releases simply just to raise more money. So they'll come out with a very like non what's the word I'm trying to think of, just very irrelevant data, like something that generally no other company would announce, but then they'll announce it because they know it'll move the stock price, and then they'll take advantage of that spike by just doing an offering and selling more shares on the market. You'll see that all the time in biotech, definitely smaller cap biotech names. So they're essentially just selling those shares to the public. That's how they're raising the money.
All right, thank you so much. You can bring me down to listener now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tulaberry. Now we have a question from Mr. Koresh.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Take a quick question regarding IWM. I saw your charts and your explanation that it needed to break out, and it finally happened after 10 months. Just the quick question is, how long do you think it's gonna last? I mean, it's very bullish right now, but I want to know what do you think about it? Where does it go by the end of the year? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty big breakout. I personally could probably see IWM the 270s into the end of the year. And generally, I'm just looking at measured moves. So I'm saying, what has happened the last time IWM broke out, and kind of comparing it to there. So over the next year, I think IWM could easily be over $100 a share. But into the end of the year, it's kind of hard to say exactly. But my target for IWM towards the end of the year is the 270s.
Yeah, thank you. And about the blink, uh, there's no volume in there. I don't know what's what's going on with the blink, but what do you think about the blink in short term?
No, I think it's going to explode. Simply due to the infrastructure bill. The infrastructure bill does have some funds in that outline that focus on a lot of different charging stations for kind of these electric vehicles. So the government's policies and the way that they're kind of going really support that type of business. So um, that will be over time that they get that many out and people using them. But I think the news alone will create uh, a lot of money flow into some of those names. So Blink, F-Cell, Plug, anything that really kind of powers electric vehicles. You've already seen a lot of some of these electric vehicle names move. You've seen Tesla move. You've seen Lucid Motors move, or Lucid, Motors. I don't know what the actual technical name of the company is, but Lucid. Um, and so generally now you're going to kind of see it's kind of like the picks and axes, right? It's like,
Yep.
with these EVs, you need charging stations. You need a way to charge the cars. So I think money is going to kind of flow out of some, not a ton, but I think you're going to see some of that money rotate into more of the powering of those vehicles rather than the vehicles now. You've seen Ford also move up quite a bit with some of their um, moves towards electric vehicles. So I do think EV charging stations and anything that kind of powers the EVs will definitely be big into the end of the year. Like very similar to last year, we had a very really big move this time of year last year for those types of names.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Okay,
you
thank you
so
very much.
much. Thank you so much, Mr. Koresh. Then we have a question from Travis. Hi, Travis. How are you?
Doing good. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Do you guys see? My question is going to be just in the market in general. Do you guys foresee this market pulling back just because we are at such extreme highs right now, or what's your, I guess, the outlook in the future?
I think the market's probably going to have a little bit of a pullback in the coming days. But I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of individual names making moves. So I do think the indices probably need to pull back a little bit, especially SPY and the Qs. But you may actually see like IWM and some of these individual names like GE, Boeing, uh, some of these reopening names really starting to make some bigger moves. And so you're kind of going to get a little bit, I think, of a bifurcated market where the markets don't look like they're moving, but some of these individual names are going to be huge movers. So over time, the rest of the year, I definitely think the market's going to continue up. And if price action says otherwise, then I'll kind of take that into account. But for now, all the charts longer term are looking like we could even honestly, we could be above 500 on SPY within the next couple months. So I'm pretty bullish.
Ah, a
Okay,
bullish
thank you.
thesis. Thank you so much, Jake, for answering Travis's question. Now we have Jeannie. Hey, Jeannie.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I did want to bring up a ticker symbol DPW. I know there's been a lot of conversations on EV and Bitcoins. So this particular one targets both of them. You guys have any thoughts on that? And they actually do the you guys talked about EV chargers. So they're the first one to start the residential chargers, and they're selling it on Amazon at Walmart. I don't know if you guys have any additional thoughts on the ticker symbol DPW.
Um, I personally can't stand that stock because of the reason that I mentioned before. I mean that that company will literally take any press release and try to push it as hard as they can just to raise capital. And I'm not a huge fan of the CEO. I think I definitely think he's a little sketchy. But it's the market. You can make money on a lot of crappy stocks out there if they move. But I personally, like from an investment standpoint, I would never be interested in it. Um, just because I've seen what they've done I've traded it in the past
Right.
and made some money. I think some of their antics are a little questionable, but
Yeah.
we'll kind of let the market decide.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that CEO part. But I do see from the technical point of view, they do have a gap fill at $5.30. And then this whole falling wedge thing going on for the last several months.
Yeah,
So
I mean this thing will move. I mean, it had a huge move last year. So, I definitely think it can move. It's just one of those things that I probably wouldn't trade simply because it's a stock that I've traded in the past and just kind of, like with technical analysis, you don't really sometimes even care what the company does. But
Right.
in this case, I just, not a huge fan of the CEO and kind of how they, because that's the thing, right? Like, I don't want to be in a stock that's likely going to be diluted almost immediately on a pop, and that's every pop you've seen pretty much since the COVID lows have been sold off pretty hard. I'm not sure when they've raised money last, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did it after these pops. But I
Yeah,
mean, if you look at where the volume is, a lot of volume is pretty much holding right at this current level. So who knows? It could get a pop as a if people look at it as a proxy for crypto or EVs. But for me, it wouldn't be something I trade.
yeah,
So,
no, I
mhm.
definitely appreciate that.
So crypto and EVs, and then you have a dilutive company, and then you have a crazy CEO. Sounds like an OTC stock to me. But
Yeah, it is somewhat, but honestly, I'm going in as just a trade rather than investment. I personally don't like the CEO as well. It seems somewhat shady. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks guys.
if you look at the daily candle and some of the technicals don't look bad, and people do like to trade this as a proxy to crypto markets and that type of thing. So, could be a runner. I just I just know that it's one of those stocks you do want to take the profit when it's there because it a lot of the time will kind of go back to earth pretty quick.
Totally agree.
okay,
Thanks
thank you
guys.
so much, Jeannie, for asking that question, and I hope you get a runner out of that thing.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right, you
good luck
guys.
that.
All right, Jake, do you have any closing statements or anything you want to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for having me. It was a great time to get on and talk a little bit about the markets into the week ahead and touch on the crypto markets as well. And yeah, if anybody has any questions about TrendSpider, you can always send us a DM. Our DMs are open on the company account. And so if you have any further questions that you want answered as far as kind of anything about the platform, we're happy to answer it and looking forward to maybe doing another one of these soon. And uh, I would just say for this week coming up, you know, I I think the markets may be a little muted, but those individual names could be some really big movers. So especially your Boeing's, your GE's, things that haven't really moved yet. Those could be some really big winners. So keep those on the radar for sure.
Thank you, Jake from TrendSpider.
Thank you,
You're
Jake.
very
Jake
welcome.
from it's Jake from TrendSpider, not State Farm.
Nope,
He
not
changed
State
jobs.
Farm. Jake from TrendSpider only.
All right, you guys, check out the pinned post. You can get 25% off a TrendSpider using the following code OTC25. Go ahead and give TrendSpider Jake a follow. Give TrendSpider a follow. The OTC Club, West Coast Closer, myself, Rue, and yes, do that. Thank you
Yes.
all for coming. Thank you all for coming to the OTC
Yes.
Club. Our next show is, go ahead, Christine, take it away.
It's Wednesday, right? We have West Coast Closer Wednesday, and then we have the NFT Thursdays, Crypt Talk Fridays, and then on Sunday we have our special guest is Minx of Wall Street. So you guys don't want to miss that. So thank you guys for joining. Make sure to go on the YouTube channel and check out all the latest episodes uploaded. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jake from TrendSpider.
Jake
Thank
from
you. We'll talk to
Jake
you soon,
from
guys. Thanks.
TrendSpider. Bye bye, Jake.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.